First, I would like to add in my introduction here that though I have done so many things in the pharmacology, in this startup and the minimal viable product and all that, I am even a equally learner as you. I know that here in this session, many of you will be there who have just learned the word startup, or those who have already been developed some startup and doing excellent in that startup. So here with this session, I will just try to show some throw some light on the lean startup and what do you mean by the minimal viable product. So coming to the word, this, what do you mean by a startup? So we all know the startup is what it is, just the a company which has just started, okay, and it has its operation and has entered the corporate world as a new venture with some investment. Okay, so you can say it is a very basic company which is in the preliminary stage of its time and in terms of its business operations. So that is known as startup. And now we all are very well versed with this term. We have heard this word so many times. Coming to the next point that I would just like to explain the audience here, that there are different types of these startups based on what purpose they have been laid off. So according to whatever my understanding is there, okay, so there are 6 types of the startup. The number one is the lifestyle startup, where the people make their passion a business and earn through it, or and they enjoy their passion or their hobby, and as well as they earn for their living. Say for example, if a person has a hobby of say photography, then he choose the photography as a career, okay, and then start some say photography venture as a startup and can earn through that. Or blog writing, okay, is also one of the lifestyle startup where the people can earn through this. Second is the small business startup. So the small business startup means where the people do the business only to feed their family, and they do not have the any vision for the expansion as such. So they like taking the coaching classes at a home or starting own boutique can be the examples of the small business startups. The next is the scalable startups. So these startups are scalable, means they can be upgraded, okay, or they can be dominating one of the sector. So these startups, they actually want to capture the market and then they dominate that sector. Say for example, the Uber, which has come up now. So initially when it started, it were very new. It was very new in the market. But now the Uber, Ola, and they has capped so much. They has grabbed so much market that we cannot just move anywhere without Uber or without Ola by using that. Next is the Buyable Startup. So in case of Buyable Startup, here the entrepreneur or the person starts to create something new, okay, and then merge it into the some larger market share, or it merge it with some big corporates in that. So here again the example is the various softwares or the various apps which has been developed. The Facebook or the Orkut was one of the example of such type of the startup. Then the large company startup. So here, these companies, they create something new and acquire a huge market share, and they are continuously in the development of a new product. Okay, the Apple intake is one of the classic example of this large company startups. And the last very important, again, I'll say from the point of the social developments and the government aspects and the community development, is the social startups. So where the startups do not carry any motive of making the any product out of this business, but they are for some social benefits, for some societal benefits. Say for example, People Tree is one of the startups started by the Santosh Parulekar. So where he is developing the training modules and developing the youngsters for the some basic skills or the life skill skills, and through that more than 15,000 youngsters or the people workers, they have got the training and they are working in this field. One of the another example I can quote here is Dr. Trilochan Murthy. He was a professor at Institute of Management, Bangalore, and he has started a startup through which he has started applying for the various PILs against the politicians. And this PIL, or this business, you can say, has started, or it has helped the government for the reformation. So reformation against the election procedure, or how the election procedure is exactly going on, that monitoring has been initiated through his act as a social startup. Coming to the next point, that is based on what approaches the startup follow for their development or for their starting up. Okay, so this is actually the this terminology is waterfall or the agile or the lean startup you are seeing here. These are applied mainly in the software. These are software terminologies, and these are just the terminologies described to you can say it is, they are used to describe that exactly what it is mean. So here first is the waterfall. That means here everything is planned. So first step is like say planning about it, then at a various steps or step by step or the sequentially the people work on the development of that, and they come up with some end product there. While as agile means here the process is validated, or here mainly the process or the customer is a is at the focus here. While as the lean startup means here the we don't have to develop a great product, okay, which no one will need, but here the market is developed as per the need of the customer base, and we make sure that it can be sold to the customer. So based on that, the lean startup work, and mainly the use of this terminology lean, okay, it means the avoiding the wastage of anything. So first you develop such a thing which cannot be even wasted. You develop a very primitive product, get it into the market, and depending on the customer feedbacks, then you start developing the product again. So here the reworking on that product is continuously going on, and then you can come up with the different features with that product. So we are having the different versions of the or updates in the software. So this is one of the good example of the what the word lean means. This terminology coming to the minimal viable product. Okay, so when I want to start my startup, okay, as an entrepreneur, the first thing which I should have with me is a minimum viable product. Now this term again, minimum viable product, is misunderstood, or it is conceptualized at whether it is a minimum marketable product or what, or whether it is just developing a proof of concept or not. But this minimum viable product, this terminologies as again, it was used by the various entrepreneurs, and it is used in many great booksellers by them to help the newly growing entrepreneurs so that they can come up with some very good thing. So this is a minimum. What do you mean by a minimum viable product? So it is a very basic version of a product, or it can be even some services what you are providing. There are certain limited features of the limited of this minimum viable product, and it is targeted at collecting the customer feedback. So first you collect the customer feedback after taking that product into the market or showing it to the market, and then you further develop the product. So this minimum viable product can be, or it can be a physical product in hand, a visible product, or it can be even a app, or it can be a landing page, okay, or it can be a video with no working product at all. So here I have enclosed some examples of the types of the minimum viable product. So a entrepreneur or a lean startup person who wants to come up with in a market, so he can showcase his product, his service, his app in this different formats. So first is the software prototype, second is the product design, demo videos. So software prototype means some initial software features can be just thrown into the market. In case of the product design, just a simple product design drawn in even on a page can be given, can be enclosed to the market. It can be just thrown into the market, and it can and from the feedback the further product can be developed out of it. Then demo videos also can come up. So the social medias is very good example nowadays, like how to do the various businesses. So we know that various business communities are working through the social medias. Okay, so we have recently in Pune, the Pula ladies are there. Okay, or Ghe Bharari is one of the such type of the platform where the demo videos also we can just play there, or we can just upload the demo videos, and that will help the customers, or that will help the users that yeah, this now something is coming in the market and I can use it. The very good example of such type of demo videos was the Dropbox, where they first started giving the videos of it when nothing was there in their hand. They have not developed anything in their hand, but yet they started with that, and that was came as a demo video. Then landing page, you can say it is like a flyer. Okay, so you are just taking that flyer into the market, and again you are saying that yeah, we are coming with this, and again you can have the various registrations for it, and from that you can get a idea that what will be the customer base for your product. Then piecemeal is the concept of developing a MVP, where you indulge, or you just take some 2 3 technologies together, and then you come up with some such a technology and you show it to the customer. Concierge is also similarly working on that, and the Wizard is one of the model in this. Uh, we know various MVPs. Okay, so this is the example of the various MVPs, or the most successful MVPs which has come in the last 1 decade, I can say. So Dropbox is one of the one in that. Then Amazon, we all know. Oyo is again one of the very famous MVP. This was first instilled as a, or you can say installed as a MVP, and then it was developed great business. Recently, now in this Corona period, we have come up with this Farm Easy. Okay, so this is also one of the minimum viable product, which was initially started as a just the video or demo video. What are the various myths or the facts in the minimum viable product? Okay, so as again there are misconceptions about the minimum viable product, that whether the minimum viable product means only the minimum marketable product, or it is only the myth, or it is only the proof of concept what you have to create. So there are certain myths versus facts in this slide. So first myth one is that the minimum viable product must be a prototype. Okay, so here I'll say this is not correct, because even your idea you can throw as a minimum viable product in the different formations. So there is no need of having a actually visible prototype in your hand. So any uh, idea of developing some app is also can be your minimum viable product. And once you have developed that basic version of a app, or the basic version of a software, that can be your prototype. Sorry, that can be your minimum viable product. While as myth two, okay, that is that the MVP is a quick and the dirty version of a product. Okay, so we all assume that when you have a prototype means in your hand, or when it is a minimum viable product, it can be like any messy product which you can show, or a dirty version you can show to the customers or to the investors. But again, this is not correct. Okay, so to get that idea further into the successful product, okay, that minimum viable product should have the basic clean product. Okay, or it should have the all the components at least well designed into that. The third is third myth is the minimum viable product is to help gain as an initial user base. So actually, again, this is not correct, because here you already know that what is the problem you are going to solve. Okay, and then you are developing the minimum viable product. It is not getting the initial customer base. You know exactly, you have identified that what is the customer need or what is the users need, and based on that you have developed the product. So this is not correct against it. And even I will say that minimum viable product and the minimum marketable product are different. Okay, because minimum viable product uh, you can just develop it and you can just show it to the customer, but you cannot sell. But while as minimum viable marketable product means what, you will sell it and you will earn something from it. So if I want to develop my minimum viable product, MVP, okay, what to do with, or what questions I should ask to myself as an entrepreneur. So there can be many, there are many students in the audience who wants to, who have certain ideas in their mind and they want to develop something. So it can be even a formulation of some XYZ combination also. So that also you can say as your product. Okay, so before developing such MVP, okay, certain questions we should ask to ourselves. And I have categorized these questions into the uh, what's, who, and how. Okay, so in case of the what's, okay, so one should ask these questions to yourself, that what is the problem you have identified? Okay, what is the problem? What is the question? What is the difficulty I have found out? And then how I can answer to it. Okay, so whether I can develop something which will help the customer for that purpose. Okay, so many softwares or many apps what we have now, they have developed through this thing only. Then second important question is like, who will be the target customer or the user for it? So now after asking this question, that first is like, what is the problem you have identified? Then second question will be like, what will be the solution for it you think of in your mind? Next will be, who is the target customer for that? And what new you will be giving to the customers. Then how that product or service will solve the problem, how that product or service will be the different. Then what the marketing channels you will be following for taking that MVP into the market. Then what are the possible revenue streams which you can generate out of it? And last one I will say is the what are the important metrics that matters the most? Okay, or this I will call as the unique selling point. So what different features your product will have that will help to get that MVP into the successful marketable product. Okay, and what are the risks associated with it? Okay, so in case of you, if you're developing a drug, then what can be the toxicities associated with these questions we should ask to ourselves. So what are the steps to build the MVP? Now I have an idea in my mind. I have a solution also developed in my mind that what it can be. Now I have to follow certain steps for that. Okay, so there are 5 easy steps here I have mentioned. The first one is you define a problem statement very correctly, accurately, okay, and validate that problem statement. So validation of a problem statement is also very important. Okay, so like I think that this is the problem, but whether the all other people related to that particular situation also thinks that whether it is a problem statement or not, that should be validated. Okay, and for that validation what one can do is like discussing this idea with the experts in the particular field. Okay, or conducting the surveys through a Google also you can use it, and you can just take that, yeah, this is the really a problem which all they feel. Okay, I will be discussing my case where we have developed one product. So I think that time this validation of the idea point will be much clear to all of you. Then second is conduct the market research. Okay, before conducting the market research, I will say validate your solution also. Like for that particular problem, I think this can be one of the best solution which I can provide. Okay, even it should be feasible to me, I should able to develop that thing in my whatever the resources I have with me. Okay, so validation of even the solution is very very important, or validation of your answer what you have developed is also very important in this. Then next is the conducting of the market research. So in case of conducting the market research, now I have a I have validated my idea, even I have validated my solution also, like this can work. Okay, then I should do a market research, that exactly how many people are using that particular concept, how many people are working in that particular area, and what is their need base. And if I develop that product, whether it is going to go into the market or not, whether it will be taken forward by the market or not. Then you develop the prototype potential solution in the third step. So now you know that there is a very good market for your product. You develop that prototype potential solution. Then you define what are the different features list are there. Okay, and then you showcase as a MVP through the various medias as we have discussed earlier. Okay, and after that MVP has been, you can say it is out now for the customers, then you have to iterate constantly on that. Okay, that means it doesn't mean that once you have developed the MVP or even the marketable product, okay, you have to stop here and just keep selling that product. Okay, what one has to do here in this MVP concept is that consistently work on the improvisation of that product, so that uh, you can achieve a great success in this. Okay, so initially I have just discussed the, excuse me, what are the basic steps for the development of the MVP. But now, if you want to develop the MVP successfully, okay, you don't want that you failure is there. Nobody wants failure in our life. Okay, so here I'll say follow this simple principle. Okay, SIMPLE, 6 principles. That first, you start with a market research, then ideate on the value addition, map out what is the user flow for you, prioritize your MVP features, then launch your MVP. And after launching of the MVP, don't stop. You have to again build, again measure what are the loopholes in that, what are the drawbacks in that, take the customer's feedback, learn that feedback, and again you have to build. So build, measure, and learn. This is again a continuously going process, mainly for the development of the MVP and for making the final MVP. So this is a very good slide which I yesterday I got it, that like for developing a MVP, okay, exactly what you should call as a building a MVP. So you can see here in first image or first diagram that you want to build a minimum viable product, a car as that. Okay, and you start developing, you start from making one wheel, then again 2 wheels, joining them with something, then you're making the body of the car, and then you're developing a car. So this is not a process of building a minimum viable product. Even the second process is like developing a minimum viable product. So here you are starting with a cycle, and then you are improvising it as a motorcycle, and then going to the car. Okay, so that should not be done. Then here the third image, what you can see here is a very classic example or a good example of the minimum viable product building, how it is to be built. Okay, so Toyota, okay, the company Toyota, so there the person who has used this concept first time, okay, is the classic example, or you can say it's a very good example that how they developed their product through this. So first you can see here they developed a model which was a very primitive type, or you can say it was just some rickshaw type of the model. Okay, and then it is slowly developed as a good viable product. So what are the advantages of developing the MVP? Okay, why before or why in any startup, okay, or as an entrepreneur, why I should develop the MVP? Because there are certain advantages of the MVP, and that advantages are, number one is you have to do the less investments, low capital investment. Okay, so as there is a reduced cost because you are first developing the prototype and then slowly you are upgrading it, so your resources are saved. So that is one of the advantage. Then there is low risk of loss once you develop your MVP. Then you are getting the early customer feedback in the development cycle. Even the continuous feedback is there, and you can also have a product, have a proof that your product is very well or it was badly received to the customer or not. And depending on that, the evidence of the demand can be created. It is a good thing for the companies to again proceed for this, or to the startup to proceed for this. So these are the advantages of the MVP. So now once I have developed my MVP, and I have to go for a startup, and my aim will be to start the lean startup only. Okay, because I am targeting here the what is customer need. Okay, what the customer don't want. Okay, and therefore after having this MVP, I should check that what is my TRL. Okay, so TRL means the technology readiness level. Okay, so this is actually a terminology or a method to understand that the technical maturity of a technology during its acquisition phase. That means it is at what level, or you can say it is evaluating that at what level your idea is, at what level your prototype is developed, or at what level your MVP is developed. Okay, and this technology readiness level evaluation will help the individual or the entrepreneur to apply for the certain fundings of the government agencies, or even taking it forward through the to the investors. Okay, so that this will be a type of say presentation that to what level you have reached, and accordingly the further steps can be decided. Because generally in this technology readiness level, there are 9 steps which I will be describing further. Okay, but generally it is found that after level of 5 to 6, okay, the product is not further developed. Okay, so this is called as the dead end in that technology readiness level. And because even the inventor who is working on that, okay, or even the investor is now then further not interested in developing that, so it creates, you can say, a dead end for that technology, and then a good technology doesn't come to the market. So it is very, very important to evaluate that what is the technology readiness level of my concept, of my idea, and accordingly take the steps, corrective measures, so that a successful product can come, a successful technology can come to the market. Okay, so these are the technology readiness level. These are the technology readiness levels. One, two, there are total 9 levels. Okay, and they are defined, and what exactly that technology readiness level means. Okay, so the first is the basic principles observed and reported. So here in the level 1, okay, you can say this is a very basic level, okay, or the lowest level of the technology readiness. And here just the scientific research has been begin to translate that idea into some applied research or into some development. Okay, say for example, I want to develop some formulation for say antihypertensive elements with some new technology, or by using some new polymers into that. Okay, or why I want to develop some new product which will be very good in case of the diabetic nephropathy. I'm sorry, I'm here taking the examples of the pharmacology because that is the domain of where I am working. So such type of the examples will be coming in my talk. So next is the technology concept and or the application formula. So this is defined as what? Technology concept only. Okay, or you can define is at define it as the application is now formulated. Okay, that means now that formula has fixed up, and now you are working on the formulation of it. So here actually the invention begins. Here it was just the initial stage in case of stage 1, but while as in stage 2, here just the invention has begun. Okay, and practical applications are invented here, and there is no need to have the detailed proof to support your assumptions. Okay, you can say just initial some analytical studies which you have done on that formulation. So there you have reached your technology readiness level 2. Then third is the analytical and the experimental critical function. So definition of this TRL3 is the analytical and experimental critical function, or you can say it is developing the proof of concept, okay, or characterizing the proof of concept. So here again you can say active research and the development is initiated. Okay, and at this level this includes all the analytical studies what you have done, the laboratory studies what you have done here. Okay, and the physically validation of that analytical predictions, etc. Okay, so that is the TRL3. Next is the TRL4. So you will observe the even change in the color of the numbers which are given here. Okay, because that is indicating that now from the risk you are going to the benefit. Okay, so the fourth level is component or breadboard validation in the laboratory environment. Okay, so whatever the technology you are developing, that you are working on in your laboratory development. Okay, therefore the such definition is given here. Then fifth is the component and or breadboard validation in the relevant environment. Now from laboratory you move into the some simulated environment. for application of that particular technology or for application of that particular product. Okay, and that's why it is called as the level 5, that is component validation in the relevant environment. The sixth is the system or subsystem model or the demonstration of the prototype in again the relevant environment. Okay, so here you are ready with now some model or some prototype development is there, or some prototype system is well defined in this TRL5. Okay, and here it represents that the major step in the technology readiness level has achieved now. Okay, next is the 7 level, which is known as the system prototype demonstration. Now it is in the operational environment. Okay, before that you were in the laboratory environment or you were in the relevant environment, but actually the operational environments were not reached. So here your prototype is actually very near or it is well planned in the operational system. Okay, and this level 7, it represents that now you have well developed from the TRL 6, and now you have to develop, you have to show that prototype actually in the operational environment. Okay, say for example, now you have developed some aircraft. So actually taking it into the field, okay, or taking some vehicle actually in the field is known as that you can consider as a level 7. Then level 8 is actual system completed and qualified through the test and demonstration. Okay, so now in this level, though it has now worked in the environmental development, environmental operational environment, okay, it is to be further tested. It is to be further, it is to demonstrate that really it is working in that particular environment or not. So validation of that you can say is done in this TRL 8, and the final is the TRL 9. Okay, where you can say is a step of the success, level of the success, where actual system has proven through a successful mission operations. Okay, and here the mission is at the end of its level and successfully you have launched your product into the market. Okay, that is called as the technology readiness level 9. So considering all this, I have just taken an example from the pharmacy point of view. Okay, so say as I have discussed the example of developing some herbal formulation or maybe some formulation for some critical conditions or the disease I want. Okay, so that concept has just come in my mind. That is a research idea. Then I have applied that research idea. I have come up with some literature, some review that I can mix these 2, 3, 4 components. I can use this polymer. I can use this certain novel technology. Okay. And then I plan a project. Okay. So till all that, it is called as a concept phase. Okay. So this TRL1, TRL2 and TRL3 level, these are actually the conceptual phases. Once you do that, you go into the phase 4, that is TRL4 level, which is development level. Okay, and then you standardize that. Okay, so whatever the formulation you have developed, you after development of that formulation, you standardize it, you analyze it. Say for example, for the stability test or for some analytical contents for the drug content in that, so different test parameters you have done on that. So this is called as the proof of concept. And then after that, the product, your idea, or you will enter into the TRL6 level. Okay, so that means the preclinical evaluation phase. Okay, so this is very, very important phase in case of the drug development or in the drug discovery, where the safety of the product, safety of the device, safety of whatever you develop for the human use has to be established through the preclinical evaluation. Then the next is the technology transfer phase, where you upgrade it. Okay, now till now here you are working on the lab scale level, but now you upgrade it. Okay, go into the technology transfer phase, and then finally going it into the clinical phase. So that once that is achieved, that means you have reached to the TRL8 level. And after having all this, after passing through all the clinical tests and all, going to the TRL9 means commercialization of that. Okay, so that's how a pharmacy professional can develop his own some prototype he wants to develop for some disease or etc. Okay, coming to the next, now the MVP is developed, the TRL also I have evaluated, and everything is fine, and I want to start up my startup. So whether what type of the startup I should go. Okay, so in that, lean startup is one of the very best approach nowadays, which is followed widely. Okay, because it is mainly the process of developing a product or a company based on the express desires of the market, exactly what the market wants. So based on that, you are developing a product or you are forming a company which will give to the market whatever it requires. So again, nowadays or during this COVID-19 period, we have come up with so many examples. During that period, so many startups has been developed. Okay, so one of that I would like to name here is the Edge Tech, is one of the lean startup. It started with the aim or with the approach that it will help the old age peoples, okay, who are just staying alone or nobody is there to take care of them. So everything start from their test schedule to the hospitalization or taking them to the hospitals for their regular visits. Everything is managed through that company. Okay, so this is a very good example of the health related startup with the person has come up, that is HTech. So what are the principles that are followed in the lean startup, or it works on what principle? Okay, so first principle what the lean startup follows is that everyone can become an entrepreneur. Okay, so it is not only the limited to a particular area or to particular field. Okay, in any field you can become an entrepreneur. Then second principle, what it works is the every enterprises need the proper management. Okay, so there is a people management, there is money management, there is a time management, which is very, very important. Then startup exit for the validated learning. Okay, so here in case of lean startup, okay, the main aim is learning. Okay, apart from earning of the money and apart from making the money, okay, what here the inventor does is he learns to do something and again continuously doing that so as to give the best solutions to the market. Then here the next principle is better outcomes, which rely on the innovation accounting. So innovation is the key, you can say, element in the lean startup. And here next principle of the lean startup is the cycle of build, measure, learn is the key to success. So here what you do, you first build something, then you measure it, you learn out of it, then again out of that you build, then again measure, then learn. So this is continuously going on process which never stops. So that are the principles of the lean startup. So this now I have my MVP, etc., etc. Every I have taken every step now. So what are the key steps which I had to follow in my lean startup? Okay, so first is think of a new idea. Okay, so as we have discussed earlier, okay, I have thought of that this particular thing can help something to solve something. Okay, so think of that new idea, then you form some hypothesis. Okay, now what do you mean by a hypothesis? A hypothetical statement. Okay, it means just a theoretical statement saying that if I do this, this is going to help for this. Okay, so combination of this 1, 2, 3 is going to give me a very good antihypertensive formulation. Okay, or combination of the some artificial intelligence into the diagnostic kit is going to give me the good diagnosis or the early diagnosis of the disease, is one of the hypotheses which I have made. Now after making that hypothesis, I should work on that through the various steps which we have seen in the TRL levels and create some minimum viable product. After creating that, test the product, then again validate your hypothesis, then measure, learn and pivot, and again you have to follow this thing. Okay, so as I said, lean startup is the cyclic process, or it is a startup which is working on the basic cyclic principle of, say, learn, build and measure. Again learn, build and measure. Okay, so what process you follow in the lean startup is, you have an idea, you build that idea, you work on that idea, through that you develop a product, again you measure the usefulness of that product through the customer feedback and etc. You have a data related to that, again you learn something from that and you modify your idea, or you can say you work for the better implementation of your idea. Okay, so these are the basic processes. Now what is the difference between the lean startup and the traditional business model? Okay, so because we have seen that there are many traditional business models which are working very well, but now why to go for a lean startup, or what are the advantages of the lean startup? Is that the lean startup is mainly hypothesis driven. You have some hypothesis in your mind, you have some solution which you have thought in your mind, and then you develop a business to answer that question, to solve that problem. Okay, while as the business plan is the implementation driven. Here mainly the new product process, it takes place through the customer development, while as here the directly the product is developed. And I'll just come to the last point here, that the speed what you get in the lean startup is that here the lean startup can grow rapidly. Okay, a rapid growth is observed in the lean startup. So within a 6 months, very successful results are observed in the lean startup, and it operates on the good enough data. While as here, in case of traditional model, it takes time for the measuring that particular success, and it operates on the complete data, whatever you are getting from the customer. So what are the challenges in front of the lean startup, okay, or the entrepreneurs who are working on the in the lean startup approach? First is the validation. Okay, so what do you mean by a validation? Okay, checking the accuracy, or checking the correctedness of your idea. Okay, or checking that whether whatever you are thinking is really correct or not. Evaluating it is known as, you can say, validation. Okay, whether it is giving the correct solution to that particular problem or not. Okay, so these are the challenges in case of the to the entrepreneur in case of lean startup. That is, first is the idea validation, and the second is the product validation, which I had already talked on this. Then next challenge is the adapting to the technology. So adapting to the, or following, choosing the very accurate technology and the correct implementation of that. These are the second challenge to the entrepreneurs who are working in the lean startup. I'll use one word here, that accurate perception and the correct expression is very much needed while adapting to any technology. The third challenge is the scalability. Like after starting the small business, now growing up or making it big. Okay, that is another challenge. And the revenue generation within the 6 months is the further challenge which all the lean startups look for. So with this basic concepts what I have understood, now I will try to explain or discuss my story with you. Okay, or our story with you, like how we have developed some one product which is, I'll say, at the level of TRL 4 now. Okay, and we are trying to develop it further so that a good successful product can come into it. Okay, so my team in Vivo Tech has worked on this product, okay, which we have named as a sensor-based technology for monitoring the laboratory parameters in the rodents. So those who are particularly working in the pharmacology, or who have worked in the animal experimentation, they will understand this concept easily, that while working in the laboratory animals, we need to monitor certain parameters as a health parameters or as a disease parameters in them. And for that parameters, we had to follow certain experiments, or we have to handle the animals for that purpose. And if we just develop some sensor based technology which can measure the, or which can monitor the laboratory parameter without disturbing them, whether that can be a good solution to answer certain questions or not. Okay, so this had come in our mind, and therefore we thought of that we will develop a sensor based technology which will monitor a laboratory parameters in the rodents, and we have filed a design patent for that. So what were the problem statements we have identified? Okay, so see, first question, like getting an idea or finding out a problem statement. Yeah, this is the problem which I need to answer. Okay, so we have identified mainly three problem statements while working in the laboratory animals. First is the robustness and the reliability of the animal data what is obtained. Okay, now this animal data I have at present we have limited to only the certain parameters, that is body weight of the animal, food intake and the water intake, because these are the initial health parameters. Daily we have to monitor them, daily we have to record, or maybe weekly we have to record them while having the animal, that is rat and mice in the animal house, or while doing certain experimentation. So it is observed that whatever the research papers published, this is one of the review paper published in that, so where they had said that the reproducibility of about all this data is not observed, okay, when the observations were repeated in the different premises, or even the observations were repeated by the same researcher in the same laboratory environment, that data was not matching. Okay, so it is really a question that whatever the data is generated is really a reliable data, or whether it is a quality data, and whether the robustness is there or not. So this is a one of the problem statement, and this is going to help, answering to this question is going to really help all the researchers, so that they can prove that their data is a quality data. Then distress to the animals due to the multiple handling. See, while doing this body in weight, measuring the body weight, water intake, and even the weight of the animal, what we do here is we just take out of the laboratory animal out of the cage, then we put it on the weighing balance and weigh the animal. Then while taking the food also, we just take out the food from that tray, measure whatever is remaining or whatever is utilized, ate by the animal, or same thing we follow for the water as well. Okay, so there also, because of the presence of the observer, or because of the presence of the experimenter personnel there, it can distress the animal. This has been proven in various experimentation as well. And third is the zoonotic infections to the personnel. Okay, so now what do you mean by a zoonotic infection? The certain infections which get transferred from the animal to the human beings, and even from human to the animals, that are called as the zoonotic infections. And this zoonotic infections can be very dangerous. Okay, so again there was a one research paper in which it has been found that about 28% who are working in the animal, who are getting exposed to the animal during the research, they are getting the zoonotic infections. And out of that, the 6 cases were medically confirmed, because there is a lack of awareness about this zoonotic infections in amongst the researchers also. Okay, and about 45 cases of the such zoonotic infections are annually noted. This was a data in US. So we thought that let's answer these questions. Okay, then we did the market research. Okay, so what is the current practices that are followed? So as I told you earlier, that manually the weight of the animal is measured, and with the help of the measuring cylinder we measure the amount of water utilized by the animal by just subtracting the amount remaining in the bottle. And in the same way we measure the feed also. Okay, so what we thought, let's answer to this question by developing a sensor based technology. So this is the prototype or the cage which we have developed in our laboratory. So as I discussed that after getting the idea now, okay, this idea had come in my mind, or in my team mind, that whether we can develop such sensor based technology or not. So we just validated that idea, that or validated that problem statement also. Okay, so in that we prepared a Google survey form, and we just shared it with the certain researchers who are working in the field of the animal experimentation. And in that we asked them certain questions. Okay, and in that we validated our problem statement, that 100% of the researchers are giving the response that recording of this data is time consuming and as well as tedious, and there is no real time accurate or the robust replicable data. So this has been said by the 56.3%, and this has supported our statement that we need to have some solution. Okay, so this already I told you that we have developed a smart cage. So what are the description or what are the components we took in our smart cage? So first is like we have taken a basic cage which is available in the market or which is there in every animal house. So we have just modified that into the with the help of our technology. So this is the basic animal cage which is used to restore the animal, which is used to keep the animal. Then this is the top cage cover, which is a which is made up of the wire mesh, and in that there is one tray where the feed is given to through the animal, and there is a water bottle through the through which the animal gets the water. Okay, so what modification we did is that we had this load cell. Okay, and this load cell is placed at one of the corner of the cage. Okay, so as the animal move on that corner, okay, the sensor will sense that weight, and it will give the recording, or it will display on the display board. Okay, but now while working here with we faced a problem, or we faced a question, that if the animal doesn't move on that corner, then what to do? Okay, so then what we did, we just shifted that load cell on the middle of the floor of the cage, and then we just kept one pad on it, or one floor on it. Okay, so that the animal, when it moves through that whole floor, the weight of the animal can be measured. Okay, and now we are in the state that we will be giving the time related measuring. Okay, so the weight will be measured only at particular time period only. Okay, because again, that was a question, that if the animal is continuously moving, they are not constant at the one place. Okay, so that sensor will sense the cage, sense the weight continuously, and there will be change in the display also. So to answer that, now we are coming with a we are coming with a technique where the program will be given, so that the weight will be recorded only at particular time period, such as say 8 hours, or the 12 hours, or the 24 hours. Then for measuring the water, what is utilized or what is consumed by the animal, we have came up with a ring sensipose sensor. Okay, so that is kept at the base of the bottle, and with this two sensors we can measure these two parameters. We are yet working on the food intake parameter, so for that I have not included that point over here. So this is the basic prototype. How does it look? Then even after developing this prototype, we measured, or we conducted some supporting studies, and we look for some data that really what we are saying is functioning or not, it is functional or not. Okay, so this is the example where we can say this is the display. Okay, so once you keep the animal in this cage, okay, it is giving the weight of the animal, and this is the water bottle sensor, the ring force sensor which I had talked about, so on which the water bottle is resting like this. Okay, so once the and there is a tube which is going for here, so that through this the animal can drink the water, and whatever the amount of water it will consume, that will be recorded here. At present it is in the gram, but for water you can say 1 gram is equal to 1 ml. So you can easily measure that what is the amount of water in that. So we have tested this in the number of animals, and by using even the different objects or the articles on that, and it is sensing the weight. So this is the supporting data, or the studies what we had performed. Uh, then after developing this solution, even we validated that solution. Okay, so we asked the question to the again researcher, that what is their opinion regarding the cage development, or what is their opinion regarding the improvement of this experimental conditions. Okay, with the help of this sensor based technique, and we have got a very good response from all the researchers, saying that this is really a good technique which can go forward for the animal experimentation. So what novelty that we have thought of here in our invention is that we have done the architectural modification in the cage. Then we are using some electromechanical technology, and as well as the software based technology for this product, which is again you can say a need of our, or it is going with a whatever the today's era is looking for. Okay, and by again extending it to the IoT, okay, we can connect this all whatever the sensors and everything what we have developed. Okay, we can connect it to the your laptop or to the mobile device through some technique, so that without going into the animal house, the researcher, the observer can get the data about the weight of the animal, and about the food intake and the water intake at a certain time interval. Okay, so this can be even linked to the supervisors can be linked to the even sponsors who are sponsoring the study, in particularly in case of the GLP laboratories and all. And therefore, this will be a novel solution to answer whatever questions we have thought of. Then we also worked on whether the solution what we have developed is cost effective or not. Okay. So at present, approximately cost of that will go around say 25 to 20,000 to 25,000. But if you consider the overall cost of the repetition of the experimentation and the reliability of the data and etc. So from that points of view, it is cost effective because all these things will be answered for. That because sometimes if your experimentation go wrong or you are not getting the appropriate data, you are repeating the experimentation. So again, for repeating, you need to take the fresh animals, again repeat the experimentation. Then zoonotic infections we can we can prevent through this, and therefore whatever the expenses are there on the treatment of that. Then even the personal expenses, so the for animal house particularly who are doing the breeding in the animal house for the some cell purpose and all, for them they need a personnel to do all these duties on the regular basis and the daily basis. So for that, even the personal expenses can be reduced, and this is very you can say will help in the drug discovery process, because the reliable and the robust data can be presented even to the regulatory agencies, so that there will not be any question about the preclinical data whatever you have generated or you will be submitting to the to them. Then we also evaluated the sustainability of our product, that whether it will sustain in the market. What is the market what we will have? Okay, so for that we have evaluated through the various research or the market research what we have conducted. So we come into that this idea will be a sustainable idea. Okay, because there are certain potential customers in the market. So there are research institutions, the GLP labs, the pharmaceutical industries, animal husbandry practitioners who will surely get benefits of this novel smart cage what we are thinking of developing. And what unique selling points we thought of, that what will be the point on which we can look more here. Okay, is the it is a sensor based and the software based technology. So good, we can all say, like, because we all are looking for something that which will reduce the stress on the human being. Okay, so now in the our houses, okay, or in our companies, in everywhere we are following some automations. We are going for the automate, we want everywhere the automation. So here you can say this technology will help for that. Then from the point of the CPCACA also, and from the regulatory point of view, we can have this all 5R: accuracy of the data, digitalization of the data, and even we are thinking of taking this technology to the old cages. So even the animal houses or the institutions where already some cages are available, just putting that sensor based thing in the old cage will also help. This we are thinking of, yet we are working on it. And the first time we are coming with such animal product in the animal welfare with the IoT extension. So these are certain USP points which we had thought of. We may improve on it. And what will be the social impact of all this technique? What we have developed is, first is the human and animal welfare, which we are generally not noticing, because the animal behavior or even the animal distress, what is caused, can affect your experimentation result, your output, and therefore for the whole experimentation can be wrongly interpreted or it can go wrong. So animal welfare, then prevention of again zoonotic infection, then we can enhance the drug discovery process, it can be fastened. And this model can go into the B2B type of the business thing. Okay, that means business to business. Okay, so this whatever we had thought of for our product, and with the help of this we are trying to help in the national or contribute in the national campaign on the advances in the animal health, which was taken forward on the occasion of the Bharat Ka Amrit Mahotsav. So this what we have done, this is our story. We are yet developing, and now I'll say we are at the TRL level 4 at present. Okay, so I look forward that soon we will be going into the TRL 5, 6, 7, 8, and at the 9 stage, so that successfully the product will be there in the market. So with this, I'll say thank you to all of you for your patience learning, and I will be happy to answer some questions if they are.
Thank you very much for this wonderful session, ma'am. It was really insightful, and we learned the many concepts and the definition of lean startup, minimum viable products. Also, there is an interesting case study that you demonstrated, explain us about how we can develop a modified and smart cage for the animals. If there is any question from participant, then they can unmute themselves and ask the question. Or they can type in the chat box. We'll take their questions. Okay, in meantime, ma'am, we'll ask some question from our end. Most of the participants are students, and as you rightly explained that the first step of the developing minimum viable product is the identification of the right problem. So what are your suggestions or inputs so that how to identify the problems, what and how the student should approach for to identify the correct problem statement?
See, identification of a correct problem statement. Okay, so for that, what you need is only the insight to look towards the different situations. Okay, so I always say to this my students that kan naak dole ugde theva. Okay,
Right.
so you should always open your eyes, keep your eyes open, keep your nose open, and keep your ears also open. Okay, so you whatever is you're observing, okay, you should think that whether it is a like you should have that insight that this is causing some problem, whether I can answer to that problem or not. Okay, I'll just like to quote one example here that I have just seen that video, okay, where there was a one person who is just the ITI person. We know after 10th generally the students or the boys go for that ITI, some trades in the machine length or something. So that person is actually from the rural area, and what he thought, like he saw his mother walking on the with the help of some walker on the staircase. So whatever the walkers available at now, okay, they have some real straight handles and all that. So to help his mother, okay, he developed such a technique where that walker, okay, it can get tilt on the staircase steps, okay, so that easily person can balance, and even that walker also can get balance on the two steps because they are one below other. Okay, and that solution he has come up, and that has now got patented also. So this is a very simple solution which that person has thought of, or that problem came into his mind that this is causing trouble to my mother, so I should answer to this. Okay, or another example I would like to quote here is again there was some girl in the Pune, I think, and we just do the stapling of our documents every day. So while doing that stapling of the document, she came into one situation where all that staple pins were finished. There were no even staple pins with her in the home also and everywhere. So she just got struggle with how to staple that documents. So just she thought that whether if if I put some remark or some mark on that, where I can get a indication that my staple pins are not going to get finished. So I have to be ready with some new staple pin set with me. So for that, just she put her nail paint on that just to identify that, and
Great.
then that problem was solved, and again she got a patent for that idea. So you have
Great.
to keep your eyes open, ears open, and your brain also open, and I'll say your heart also open. Like you should kindly and passionately see to the other situation. Okay, if I'm not going through that situation, that doesn't mean the other person is suffering from that. So you should understand what suffering or what problem even the other person or the community is going through, and we should try to think on that. So for that, you can talk to the different people in that field, or even to your seniors, to your parents, or even just a common layman also give you answer to that question. A farmer can give an answer to that question. Okay, I hope
Right.
I have answered the question.
Yes, yes, yes. Thank you very much, ma'am, for all your interesting examples that you quoted throughout the session. The next question is that as you develop this product, it is an animal cage, but it involves the various other aspects like electronics, some mechanical aspects, and all other things. For that, we need to collaborate with other departments and
Right.
experts.
Right.
So, what is your advice that when we're collaborating, then how to identify the right collaborator? What should be our approach to communicate with them?
Okay. So yes, without collaborations, no one can grow. Okay. If I just think that I alone will work on this and my idea will get stolen off, so I will not share that idea with anyone, then you will not develop that idea. You will not be a successful entrepreneur in that. Okay. You can just file or IPR, you can just have a copyright of it, and you can protect your idea, and you can talk to the your relevant collaborators, or you can say the people whom you have a trust. Okay. And identifying a correct collaborator. Okay, now in our case, we need that sensor based something, okay, which will help us. So being a pharmacy person, I was totally unaware of it, that exactly how it works, which sensor I will have to take, exactly how to proceed. So for that, we contacted the electromechanical person or the electronics person. Okay, so now there are institutions where actually the different sister concern institutions are also there. The professors are also there. Okay, so what a pharmacy student can do, he can just contact, or a teacher also can contact the engineering personnel nearby them, and they can collaboratively work on that. Okay, so how to identify a correct collaborator? So for that, you need to work on your solution, what you are thinking of. Like say, if I want to develop some mechanical solution, okay, modification of that particular design, mechanistic way, okay, then I will have to contact the mechanical person. If I want to do something in my civil thing, then I'll have to contact the civil personnel in that. Okay, electromechanics or the electronics, mechanotrix and all that. So correctly you have to identify them, and then you can contact them. And while going to them, just have an open approach. Okay, because there can be even the criticisms, there can be even the certain inhibitions from them also. So just think on that, like say, if you just approach one collaborator or just one person who wants to think that you think that that person can help you, but if that person doesn't help you, okay, just don't get demoralized there. Okay, try to find out some another solution also, कि ये नहीं काम कर रहा है तो ये करके देखते हैं, ये नहीं कर रहा है तो वो करके देखते हैं. So for that, consistently, that thought process should be there in your mind. Okay, you openly discuss the idea with the person, give your inputs also. Clearly, you should tell that person that exactly what you want. Okay, and how that person can do this. And what you can do is you can have a initial some COA, okay, or the MOU with that person or that institution, and then you can collaboratively work so that the further conflicts cannot be there.